Hey guys, welcome back to the Ignite SAT Mastery course. Today we'll be covering Lesson 1 of Module 4, Identifying Unique Question Types in the Math section of the SAT. Now, what are these questions? What types of questions are we going to see on the Math section? Well, first we're going to see rational operations questions. The next, there'll be linear solutions questions or solving linear systems. We're also going to have quadratic solutions questions or solving quadratic systems. We're also going to have inequalities, and these can both be linear and quadratic. Then we're going to have line of best fit questions where you'll be asked to determine a line of best fit and interpret data from that line. Then we're going to have exponential functions, and this could be anywhere from the form of the variables and how they're set up, as well as actual calculations being done. Then we're going to have solving variables questions where we have to rearrange specific equations to solve for one variable. And then finally, we're going to have advanced factoring questions where we need to use advanced factoring techniques to simplify these expressions. Now, here's a tip. All SAT math questions can be put into these specific categories. It's crucial, it's very crucial to learn the patterns on the math SAT section. In this case, all of these specific question types will be listed on the SAT in one way or another, and it is important to know how to solve them, where to recognize them, and the exact steps you need to go through the process. Now, let's look at some examples of these questions I mentioned. The first one are rational operations questions. Now, these questions are specific in the fact that they have expressions over other expressions, hence a rational expression. As you can see, we have 5x minus 2 over x plus 3 and 15, and we have 3 minus 5i over 8 plus 2i. Now, keep in mind that I can act as a variable in this case, and that's why it is classified as a rational expression. Next, we have linear solutions. Now, this could be anywhere from just single linear equations and all the way ranges up to system of linear equations. Now, if we look at this, we can see that this one, number 2 on the left, represents a system of linear equations, and number 3 represents an equation already given and just the input of specific variables to solve. Next, we have quadratic solutions, and this can be seen in a wide variety of ways. This can be looking at a quadratic equation in standard form. It could be using something like the quadratic formula. All of these different things can be tested, but the main concept is recognizing how a quadratic equation looks and how to solve for them. As you can see in 17, it's asking for the coefficients of the b term, and in 13, it's just asking for the answer sets. Next, we have interpreting inequalities, and as this mentions, these will have specific inequalities and they will test relationships. In question 11, it's asking which does not fit as a solution to the inequality. In question 18, it tests the relationship between A and B, and you need to be able to figure out how to use these inequalities to tell you information. Next, we have line of best fit questions. Now, these can be a little interesting to look at, but usually the way you can see them is the presence of some sort of line and graph or a scattering plot. Question 14 asks for specific data points put on that best fit line. Well, question 5 asks to recognize how a best fit line may look versus correlations and associations and the strengths. Next, we have exponential functions. Now, exponential functions can be seen in multiple ways. On the left, question 14 is just asking you to write an exponential function based on the data given. 37, however, is asking to recognize a variable based on the data given. And 38 asks to do actual calculations with exponential functions. The next one we have is solving for variables. Now, these will be equations comprised completely of variables or constants. And in this case, it is asking us to rearrange it in terms of other variables, and you need to make sure you're doing these operations correctly. Next, we have advanced factoring. Now, advanced factoring can be very tricky. There's a couple of rules to know, but the factoring you need to keep in mind are rules when it comes to exponents, or rules when it comes to quadratic factoring and quadratic equations, and this could be like the sum of squares, the difference of squares, and so on and so forth. Next time, we'll be looking at rational operations and how these are applicable to the math section of the SAT.